Behind me, you might be able to make out the grain silo, and that building there was where the explosion happened on August the 4th. The warehouse number 12, which contained 2,700 tons of ammonium nitrate stored inside the warehouse, blew up on August the 4th. The explosion was one of the largest non-nuclear blasts ever recorded, decimated a large chunk of East Beirut, killed 200 people, wounded around 7,000, and has caused an estimated $5 billion worth of damage. This comes as Lebanon is going through its gravest financial and political crisis in its 100-year history. We have a situation where the economy has essentially collapsed. The Lebanese pound, which was pegged at 1,500 lira to the dollar, has fallen to rates on the black market of around 8,000 lira at the moment. So the people's purchasing power has collapsed, poverty has increased, and there is no hope, or very little hope, that the situation is going to improve in the coming months or year. Reason we've reached this situation is because of a sclerotic, corrupt political class, cross-sectarian ex-warlords, Sunnis, Shia, Christians, who've essentially ruled this country since the end of the Civil War in 1990. They and their corruption and the patronage systems that they operate here have eventually brought the country to its knees. And even though the international community is willing to assist, the World Bank, the IMF, they've all stepped in to say that we can bring in money, we can help you, we can renegotiate debt and so on, but you have to begin a process of reforms, economic reforms that are going to start to put the country back on its feet. But unfortunately, the politicians here are not willing to implement any reforms. They're not even able, since the current government resigned after the explosion in August, they haven't been able to form another government because, as usual, the politicians are still bickering about who's going to get what portfolio, who's going to benefit the most. Essentially, you have a cabal of corrupt politicians who nominally are at odds with each other politically, but they have robbed the state blind over 30 years, and none of them wants to give up a system which will essentially bring an end to their political livelihoods.
So, Nick, as you've indicated, the Lebanese are very fed up with their government, and there has been several years of protests, particularly young people coming out onto the street, voicing their anger with the government. What hope do you see for the future?
The protest movement erupted in October of 2019, and this was really a cathartic release of anger and frustration by Lebanese of all sects, of all backgrounds, who are fed up with the corrupt leadership of the country. The COVID-19 pandemic, plus the financial collapse of the country, has dissipated the public protests, but the anger is still very strong. And we are seeing, I think, a gradual sea change, especially among young Lebanese who have tired of the sectarian political system here. And a number of the universities recently had student elections. And very revealingly, the political parties that are represented by a lot of these student groups were completely shut out of the elections. The elections were won by new student bodies, secular groups in nature. And that hopefully is an encouraging sign for the future. That all said, the Lebanese are extremely resilient. It's still a wonderful country, beautiful country. If you come to Lebanon, you'll be seeing Beirut. You'll see, indeed, probably the lingering damage of the August the 4th explosion in East Beirut. You will go down to South Lebanon. You'll see the Bekaa Valley, one of the most beautiful parts of the country. The food is wonderful. It's the best in the Middle East. The people are warm and very hospitable. And yet, despite the problems that Lebanon's going through, you are almost guaranteed a very comfortable time here.